Hello and welcome to another episode of Beyond the Black Rims. I'm Mars Girl.
I'm Josh Knight the First.
This is Season 5, Episode 1.
Or Episode 95 if you've been counting.
Season 5, that's pretty impressive actually.
A little impressive, a little bit.
A little on the impressive side. Let us know if there's any troubles with this stream, as it is the first time that we've been streaming since our month-long hiatus.
Yes.
Much
well-deserved rest.
That was a Nerf gun.
That was one of yours. It's always a Nerf gun.
It's always a Nerf gun. So it seems like everything seems to be fine. We haven't had any issues dropping or anything from this stream.
Except dropping the Nerf gun.
Except dropping the Nerf gun. I wanted to, as always, thank our Patreon contributors over at patreon.com/MarsGirl who have always made this show happen and other programs that I work on every single week. I wanted to also get started by saying this is going to be the first episode that we're finally going to debut over on Channel Awesome. And, we went the full first 4 seasons without having done so. So, for the sake of those people who are watching it pre-recorded,
right.
We're gonna have to go through and give you guys a bit of an explanation on what exactly this is. So basically, we stream live, actually, every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Central Time on twitch.tv/MarsGirl. And we talk for an hour, mostly about 3 relatively major stories of the week, typically having something to do with nerd-related culture and news. Go over a few follow-up segments that we might have talked about in previous programs. You're going to hear us talk about Star Wars a lot, Final Fantasy a lot.
Not quite Justice League.
Which, that's a running joke you're going to have to learn, is a different wording for Batman v Superman is not quite Justice League.
That'll come up tonight.
That'll come up tonight. Great. That's fantastic. And then also, if you are here live with us, additionally, if you stick through for the entire hour or just come back at the tail end of the hour, you then get an additional 30 minutes to do Q&A with us that we typically don't provide to our YouTube or Blip audiences, so you have to be here live.
Yeah, if you're here, you're special.
In order to participate in it. So, I'm really excited that we're doing this for Channel Awesome now as well, and for those of you who are wondering, oh, why aren't you producing the... I was, and I'm sorry, I was trying to see what I could do outside of Channel Awesome, and I think we've done well enough to finally decide, you know what, let's go ahead and
yeah, we got enough of an
now.
audience. I think we're all right.
So that's basically where we're coming from right now. So we've been gone for this previous month. So
yes.
What's been going on?
I bought toys.
Yeah, we bought some toys.
We bought a little bit of toys.
We got a few toys.
Well,
share with the class.
Okay, so I got this for myself. It's the Drive Driver from Kamen Rider Drive, which means now, thanks to this, I have every single current era belt from Kuga up to Drive. There's a reason I have those, not just because I'm a fan.
You are an obsessive man.
And how I love this thing. It's heavy. To say a lot. There's a lot of electronics in this thing.
It's got this crazy motor, this crazy spinning motor to create the pictures.
Yeah, because, it does the R, it does the face.
Nobody can see it behind the Patreon logo.
It's got the R right here, it spins, Mr. Belt talks through it. It's great. I'm very happy to have that.
Okay, that's lovely.
That's lovely.
Anything? What? Did we do stuff? Did we do anything?
See, it's the weird thing. Sometimes it's better that you do nothing, because then you can just relax, keep things at a normal pace, get up to speed on some things. Mm-hmm. But it's funny that we're coming back, and we're coming back to do new things. Like tomorrow, you get to make good on a promise you made before we went on break, which is we're going to see Jurassic World tomorrow. I know some people are watching it tonight, early previews, but you said the only way you're going to watch it is in D-Box.
Because there's no other way I was going to be able to enjoy that movie.
Which, for those of you that don't know, D-Box is this program that some theaters offer where you sit. It's basically motion seats.
So it's basically like if you've ever been to Universal Studios or Disney World or something and you've ever done their 4D attractions with rumbling seats and 3D glasses, that's what D-Box is. So.
Yeah. Usually it's pretty good for action movies.
It's also very expensive.
It's a little expensitive. But you said that was the only way, so...
I didn't say it was the only way.
You said it was the only way.
Pretty sure I just said it's, I didn't say it had to be in D-Box. It was the only way I was going to enjoy it.
Okay.
Not the only way you're going to
enjoy it. Well, either way, you'll probably have something to say about it next week on the show.
More than likely.
If not sooner, depending on how good/bad it is.
It's, I mean, maybe it'll be an enjoyable popcorn, people are running around, monsters kind of a movie, but it's, like I've said before, it's not gonna have that charm and wonder of discovery. The discovery is lost and gone forever, and it will never be the first Jurassic Park, and I'm just gonna have to accept that. I don't think I can accept that.
Yeah.
I can't accept it.
What else?
In any case...
We actually do have something to announce that happened during the break, but now we can say for the first time here on the show.
We do?
Con Bravo.
Oh, yeah, that's the thing. So we knew for a while that this was going to be a thing, but I am now a guest at Con Bravo. Josh is coming with me. Con Bravo is taking place up in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, July 24th through 26th. So that's really exciting, and we're going to be doing a showing of Farewell Fami Kamen Rider. That'll, it's not the first time anybody's seen it, but it is the first time that we've debuted it to an audience in its full, completed form, a live audience like that.
Right.
Which is, I think, also a very good experience. If you have seen the or if you have or have not seen the movie, if you haven't seen it with a group of people, the group experience is so much fun. So much fun. That's the way you gotta experience the movie, really.
Yes, so we're very happy to be up there. It'll be my first time leaving the country. You've been, of course,
I've been before, although I've never flown into Canada before. The last time, ironically enough, it was with Justin. We flew to Buffalo, New York, and then got in a car with Kyle Hebert, voice actor Kyle Hebert, and we drove across the border. Border Patrol going in wasn't so bad. The Canadian Border Control was just like, you're not gonna cause trouble, eh? And then we went right on in, but then coming back was a different story. The Americans were like, so what were you doing there? Huh? Yeah? Were you making any money there? Yeah, you bringing anything back with you? Where are you guys from? What do you all do? Why are you all from 3 different places? Why do all 3 of you do 3 different things? This seems very suspicious. Like, they held us up there at the border for a long time.
They were being those guys.
They were being those guys, yeah. So hopefully the flight will be a somewhat different experience. I'm hoping. Other than that, I guess we should go ahead and move into our follow-up segments.
Well, we should probably talk about what our actual 3 topics are tonight.
Right, you're absolutely right. So this isn't exactly how I wanted to start the very first episode of this season, but it just happened today. We just learned that famed actor Christopher Lee has in fact passed away. Very prominent actor who did such great character roles.
Prolific work, such a long career, over 200 films if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah,
so
massive numbers.
So we're going to go ahead and reflect on his career in the first story. And then the second story, it's kind of an interesting thing to look at. Cartoon Network has brought about a new Powerpuff Girls series. The interesting thing about this series is it's got a similar art style to the old series that we all grew up with in the 90s. The difference is this is not the same cast you're used to, and the old cast kind of found out at the same time everybody else did.
Very kind of sticky situation. And then finally, we've got some gaming-related news in reference to Oculus Rift. Big old press conference was held in San Francisco, and we've learned a whole bunch about what games are going to be on it, its compatibility with the Xbox One, and all sorts of other hardware-related things. So I just thought it would be interesting to talk about that subject. So looking forward to getting to these news stories, but we do have follow-ups.
Yes, we do.
Oh, you have a lot of... You always have...
No, I'm going to try and get through this as fast as I can, because there's a lot of them. It's been a month. What are you going to do?
Alright, so let's do this. Follow-up segment time.
Alright, you know what? I'm going to start off with the good stuff. Not quite Justice League news.
Why is that good stuff? How is that ever good stuff? That is
because
never
we get angry, and
stuff.
some people like it when we get angry.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah.
Okay, so the official synopsis has been released for the movie in conjunction with the licensing expo happening right now. We've got better looks at the costumes, better look at the new Batmobile that's being displayed over there. A lot of interesting little switches and gadgets and gizmos, but of course, the thing that's most intriguing is this little synopsis, which I'll go ahead and read now. Fearing the actions of a godlike superhero left unchecked, Gotham City's own formidable, forceful vigilante takes on Metropolis's most revered modern-day savior while the world wrestles with what sort of hero it really needs. And with Batman and Superman at war with one another, a new threat quickly arises, putting mankind in greater danger than it's ever known before. Which means we learned precisely Dick.
Yeah, I mean, now let's look at it. There's two sides to this. One, no, this isn't freaking news.
No.
But two, it's just a synopsis, so you can, I don't know, slap it onto IMDb or something. I mean, there's not much to expect out of it. Although, you might imagine, didn't they know that that's what the synopsis was going to be, like, a really long time ago? Like, couldn't somebody have written that 80 bajillion years ago?
Well, yeah, at heart, it's not that far off from what I was hoping it was going to be, which was just the few episodes of the Batman-Superman show World's Finest, which they turned into the Batman-Superman movie, not this.
Right.
Those are two separate things. But at heart, yeah, that's what it is. That's what we all figured it should be. Now, if it was only going to be that simple, I would be fine with it. But the fact of the matter is, we know all of these other things about it. We know we've got a ton of other cameos and characters we've got to get to. We've got to deal with all this crap from the last movie that we've got to clear up, and then introduce a ton of other characters and basically lay the groundwork for a whole cinematic universe for DC, as well as the Justice League crossovers down the road. That's a lot to cover in 2+ hours.
Yeah, I agree with that. So, my question is, how accurate is this synopsis? We're not gonna know.
Well, I mean, it's accurate because it's officially released, but
yes.
How much is it leaving out?
And granted, I'm not asking for spoilers. I don't want spoilers, but a little bit more courtesy towards the fans who are not sure, like, on rocky, unstable ground right now. A little more courtesy would, I don't know, be appreciated. I suppose.
A little bit. Okay, moving on to other news, another DC-related news. Supergirl, which is going to be debuting on CBS, has gotten its air date. The premiere is going to be October 26th at 8:30, and then it's going to move to its regular time slot at 9 on November 2nd, so we know that's coming out.
I was hearing a little while back that the first episode got leaked.
It's somewhere. I haven't seen it yet, but apparently some people have. What I'm hearing is it's actually not that bad, which is a relief, but I still have to see for myself. I mean...
Well, we'll find out later this year!
Or sooner, depending, you know.
Okay.
Stuff gets leaked. It happens all the time. In Ghostbusters news, of course, we've heard about the reboot coming out with the all-female cast. Well, it's not all-female now. We've learned that Thor, Chris Hemsworth, has been cast in the movie in the role of the receptionist for the Ghostbusters.
Helmsworth or Hemsworth?
I pronounce it Helmsworth. Is there an L in there?
Is there an L in there? Maybe you should check that before you pronounce it.
You know what I'm talking. Thor. Thor's their receptionist.
Yeah. See, they've just gender swapped these characters. Now, is that good or is that lazy? Part of me wants to say that's lazy.
I think it's expected. They're kind of playing to what the audience is trying to figure. Oh, so everything's gender swapped. So.
Which basically should just mean it's just the exact same movie, but the genders are swapped, which really, like, to me, that's not enough, but I still need to see it. I don't, like, there's still
like,
not
we haven't even gotten a
trailer.
Synopsis on that yet.
No.
Like, we're still
I need to
too
see
far
more.
out.
Need
Too
to see
far
more
out.
Because gender swapping alone isn't enough to sell me, I don't think.
No, I would agree to that.
Yeah.
Okay, in other news, Daredevil-related news, we're going to move over to Marvel. Of course, we knew that Season 2, we reported last season, has been greenlit because, of course, the show has done massive numbers, ton of people viewing it, great reviews, and of course they're going to go into Season 2 with some new characters, but the first one that they've confirmed is The Punisher, who's going to be played by John Bernthal, who people, of course, know from The Walking Dead. He was in Wolf of Wall Street, and basically the peasants rejoice. Like, this, people were hoping and saying back while they were still watching Season 1 when it was fresh, man, with all the crap they did with the 2 Punisher movies, you know, The Punisher and Punisher Warzone, they didn't quite do the character justice, and we don't even hardly talk about the Dolph Lundgren version.
Right.
If only they could give him the Netflix treatment. Well, now, that's exactly what they're doing. He's getting the Netflix treatment.
That's amazing.
That is amazing.
Absolutely amazing.
Which means that character's going to have so much life and arc breathed into him. Like, yeah, I was already hyped for it before you announced The Punisher was going to be in it.
Yeah.
So that's, definitely news to look forward to there. In Tokusatsu news, we've had our press conference just yesterday for the Kamen Rider Drive and Ninja Summer movies, specifically focusing on Kamen Rider Drive. The official name of the movie is Surprise Future.
Surprise Future!
Yes. The surprise for me is that it comes out on my birthday.
Yay, you're not going to be there to see it.
Not yet.
No.
We'll be like a month late.
Yeah, sorry.
And they have confirmed that the first appearance of the next Rider after Drive, Kamen Rider Ghost, will in fact be in the movie, bringing back up the tradition of debuting that rider, the next Rider in the movie.
So they're already way on top of his creation and development.
Yeah, so more than likely, we just came into...
his costume likely is... they've already filmed it, I'm sure. And
if they haven't filmed it, they're filming it now.
Yeah.
So we've already passed the June hump for magazine scans, usually where we get this information from. So I imagine going into July... Definitely by August, more than likely going into July, we'll get our first look at what Ghost's design is.
Okay, cool.
Still a lot of rumors about that, but nothing worth repeating yet, since we're basically, 2 weeks out from finding out what this guy looks like. I think I can wait 2 weeks.
Sure.
Okay, so moving on to other news. There was a bit of news on Final Fantasy 15, some sort of a tech demo upgrade.
I'm not too psyched about it. I'm glad that they're doing updates and stuff. Their demo that you could play, their playable demo that you could have played with Final Fantasy Type 0 HD, they have now updated it. So there are some cool things about it. So now you can see how your teammates kind of use each other to do better damage. There's new battles. They showed off more of their Luminous engine. That's all well and good and all, but to me it's just you're spending so much time on this. Now I'm glad for one thing. I'm glad that what they want to do is get people's reaction to it, see if they're actually going in the right direction, if people are even gonna friggin' play this game.
Right.
But man, it still feels like they're dragging their feet, and I'm still basically looking at just the same portion of the game that we've all... In fact, they were saying Gamescom, which is a European games conference, they wanted to try and submit a trailer. Well, they didn't have any new footage. After all this time, they still don't have any new footage. And they said in their hour-long stream press conference, well, we were just going to slap together a trailer with a bunch of old footage, and then Gamescom said, we're not going to accept it if it doesn't have new footage in it, and so they turned them down. So good job, Square Enix. You're kind of going over the same thing over and over again, and they're super concerned about how it looks, which is great. But
Is it really?
But I expect that out of Square Enix. I already expect the good-looking stuff. Please focus on the gameplay and move forward. Because otherwise they're going to skip another gaming console generation.
Well, see, the whole thing is, by polishing the tech demo, which I don't think gains you any points, it's the whole, Wizard of Oz, don't look at the man behind the curtain, just look at the pretty thing out front. It's making a lot of noise.
Yeah.
Oh crap, we don't have our stuff together. That's how it feels.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then, there's that news. And then our last bit of news for tonight in the follow-up section. Of course, before we went on break, we talked about Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, the Kickstarter Koji Igarashi project for a new game that's basically the successor to...
Spiritual successor to
Castlevania. When we reported on it, it had just finished getting fully funded within about a day. That was nothing. And we were just wondering, before we left on break, well, how far is this thing gonna go? They have 24 hours as of this recording, and they are at $4.5 million.
That is friggin' impressive, and they have nearly blown all the way through every single stretch goal they possibly could. That's amazing.
Also making it the most highly funded game on Kickstarter to date.
Amazing.
Yes.
Absolutely amazing. Let's see if they follow through with everything, which, legally, they have to, or they have to provide their backers with something. Well, so they better do a good job, and the game better be good.
You look at it comparatively, you remember we were originally covering Mighty Number 9 when it came out, and now we're watching the commercials. We're seeing the promotions for, hey, buy the American version, you get a free little Beck toy that comes with it, and the collector's edition and all this stuff, and it's like how far crowdfunding gaming has come.
Yeah.
So we're finally seeing the fruits of our labor, at least, you know, it's there on the horizon, so...
Crowdfunding is a gamble, that is to be certain, but man, you can tell which ones are gonna follow through, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
For the most part.
So yes, very happy to see that this one's gonna come out. I'm willing to bet they're gonna get the other 500,000 within a day.
Easily. Yeah, easily.
But yep, that'll do it for our follow-up section for tonight.
Fantastic. So we can move on to the news stories as advertised. This unfortunately includes the news of the passing of Christopher Lee.
Sir Christopher
Lee, who is 93 years old.
That's a good old age.
Yeah, that's like, a lot of people, I think, were saying online today that they kind of took his existence for granted. Like, he was just always gonna be there, because he just kept going, you know?
Well, he was working up until the end, that's the thing. He was one of those people, you could tell he loved doing things.
He was such a workhorse. In fact, he said himself that that acting was his passion and what he lived for. Absolutely. You know, such notable roles. Entirely possible that his role as Dracula might be his most well-known role, possibly.
Next to, you know, of course, Saruman.
Saruman, within our kind of circle, include Saruman, include Count Dooku. I might not have liked the prequel trilogy very much, but man, if there was one actor out of the whole prequel trilogy who, like, sold his role the best, it was probably him. Christopher Lee as Count Dooku.
Well, yeah, because he was the most classically trained out of anybody in the prequel cast, I think.
And it showed, and it was almost kind of embarrassing, really kind of embarrassing.
Well, how they took him out.
One, how they took him out, and two, how the rest of the prequel trilogy is framed, so that this one guy is acting his damn hardest, and everybody else is just kind of, I'm delivering lines. I hate sand. It gets everywhere. but not Christopher Lee, man. And Christopher Lee, kind of tying back to the very first review I ever did, The Last Unicorn.
Mm-hmm.
He did the voicing role of King Haggard, not only in English, but he was also fluent in German and a number of other languages, and he dubbed that character into German as well. I think he might have been the only other actor who dubbed both the English and another language's same character. I'm pretty sure he was.
In that
movie.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, and of course, he was also a Bond villain. Yeah, Scaramanga and the Man with the Golden Gun.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so, as far as, I guess, nerdy culture is concerned, he's got a little piece of everything all over the map.
Well, because his roles were, like we were saying, over 200 roles, right? I mean, that's, like, how has someone essentially not seen him or heard his voice at some point in movie viewing history?
2 years ago, he released, like, this was the thing that weirded me out, he released a heavy metal album.
Yes. Which
is actually really good. He's got a great voice, or I guess I have to say had a great voice, but that's out there right now. You can go listen to that on iTunes and rock out to this guy. I mean, for as long as he worked, all of this richness that he brings to these roles, you know, throughout this entire body of work, which is going to be watched for years and years to come. It's good to think that, you know, to pass here, you can say, you know what, I reached a good point.
Yeah.
You know, I was happy with the amount of work I did, and he still probably would have kept working.
Surely he was not dissatisfied, I would say.
Right.
I don't think there's anything to mourn. He left such a body of work that it's like he's always here, he's always going to be making generations of people happy, I would think.
Yes.
You know, because it's that's the amazing thing about this kind of entertainment. It just continues to live on even long after we're gone. So who knows how long it'll be down the road, and somebody picks up a movie or just thinks about the movie. Who knows where technology will go. And they go, I want to learn more about this guy. And then they learn about his whole body of work. And then you've, like, rediscovered the renaissance of Christopher Lee sometime way down the road in the future. I think it's an amazing age that we've come into and will continue to go into thanks to digital media.
Yeah, and of course, not to overshine all of the artistic merit that he also fought in World War II.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So that's, not anything to shake a stick at, to do that and then come out of that in one piece and then go on to do...
What movie was it? A director asked him to imagine the sound of someone being stabbed in the back, and he had to reply, I don't have to imagine.
Well, no, actually, it wasn't that he doesn't have to imagine. He corrected the other actor who was doing it, like, no, it doesn't sound like that.
Yeah.
Just all the air leaves you. I think it was Guillermo del Toro, if I'm not mistaken. But the thing is, he kind of backed away in horror, like, no, wait, he was in wars. He knew what that sounds like.
That's horrific, but if he can use that to better something else, to better an art form...
Oh, no, it was Peter Jackson, I guess.
Yeah, I imagine that was Peter Jackson.
So, yeah, definitely that's really a hallmark of any sort of acting. You take what you have in your personal experience and then you find a way to translate that and adapt that into a role you do. If you go through a tragedy, you take it with you and you use it basically as fuel. And you put that into the next thing you do, and then you turn that negative into something positive. Whether or not it's you playing a bad guy or something of that nature, you're bringing a realism to it.
Yes.
And that comes through very clearly in that role and many of his other roles. Now, admittedly, I'll be upfront, I've never seen his Dracula, but I've heard people say it's amazing.
I've seen his Dracula. It's probably what you're going to find most copied, most imitated, most parodied. So I think it's the most iconic. It's safe to say it's the most iconic.
Well, I'd say next to Bela Lugosi's. So then it's, up there.
Yes, I would agree with that.
And then he did apparently record extra dialogue as the narrator for Lego Hobbit.
Yes. that I heard,
I think that's on sale on Steam right now. So if anybody wants to go play that,
I wonder if it's part of the Steam sale.
I think it is.
I bet it's part of the Steam sale.
Most of the Lego games are like half off now. Steam sale, do that right now. But not to get too far off. The thing about it is, yes, this is a man whose work, at some point, we've all seen him at some point. 200 movies, it's kind of hard to miss him.
Yeah.
But the thing is, because he's in 200 movies, it's easy to miss him.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I think he will be missed, but I don't think we should, again, be long to mourn. Because, he's always going to... We're always going to be able to come back to him, I think.
Yeah.
And he's going to continue to make people happy, even long after his passing, and for that, I think we can all be very, very grateful and very thankful for his extensively long period of work, both as a war veteran and as an actor making millions and millions of people happy. So.
Yes, absolutely. So, Christopher Lee, you will be missed, and thank you for your work.
We'll go ahead and move on to our secondary story now.
Yes.
Unfortunately, a bit of a mood whiplash, I think.
Hard left.
A little tough there, but, so
Powerpuff Girls. Woo! Okay. At least we didn't do a bad segue into this one.
I don't know if that was good or bad. If I'm
we could have done worse. We could have done worse.
We could have done a lot worse. So we're aware that now, surely you're aware now that there's going to be a new Powerpuff Girls reboot animated series.
Set for next year.
From what I understand, the animation style is different from the original animation style.
Just slightly.
The character design seems nearly identical. Nearly identical.
Well, I'll comment on that for a second, because there was that small thing that they put out, I think it was about 2 years ago, where they drastically changed the art style. I mean, they had the basic shape down, but it was a little blockier and edgier. The way I described it to somebody last night was, to me anyway, if you took the animation for Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends and then adapted that to Powerpuff Girls, that's what it came out looking like.
Yeah, I see
And a lot of
that.
people weren't happy with that, at least art style-wise, but you still had your cast. So now they've decided, you know what, the series is still very prolific. People love it. It made us a lot of money, as Cartoon Network speaking. So we're going to bring it back. And, of course, people hear that it's coming back, and the art style's a nice throwback to the original. You're feeling good about it, positive. Like, yeah, you know what? I loved Powerpuff Girls. Honestly, I watched a hell of a lot of Powerpuff Girls.
I watched some episodes, and I always liked them. I just didn't have Cartoon Network for very long. We didn't have cable in my home until I was in high school.
I had cable. I was brought up on cable.
No, I understand.
Yes.
I lived in the middle of nowhere. We didn't have cable.
Right, so, of course, that's the thing. We have the series coming out, but the thing about it is, with a lot of childhood cartoon series, you get the voice of those characters stuck in your head. Mm-hmm. When you think of Optimus Prime, you think, who is it? Peter Cullen. Megatron, Frank Welker. Mm-hmm. Certain voice, Darkwing Duck, Jim Cummings. That voice with that character. They go together.
There's a lot of characters, yes, in the animation industry where, and this happens, you'll find I think it happens more in Japan than it does in the United States, where a character gets created, and the original voice actor for that character is that character for life.
Yeah.
For life. Now, at Jim Cummings, that happens with a lot, though. Cummings,
happened with Mel Blanc a lot.
Yeah.
Up till death.
Jim Cummings is going to be Winnie the Pooh until he dies.
Yeah.
At this point, I think. So, but that's the thing, is that perhaps too much to expect, because now the news comes out. Was this yesterday, or was this a few days ago?
Just this week, that the Powerpuff Girls are going to have different voice actors. And I'll go ahead and list them off real quick. Blossom is being played by Amanda Layton. Bubbles is being played by Kristen Lee. And Natalie Palomides will be playing Buttercup. New actresses for this 2016 Powerpuff Girls reboot.
They seem fairly young.
Yes.
They seem like they're maybe in their early 20s at best. Honestly.
I would agree to that.
Yeah, they seem very, very young, and that's a fair casting if you have to recast, I think. And, they also released these vines of each of the girls introducing themselves. So, 6 seconds of listening to their voices. Granted, they're not, doing voices. They are speaking using their normal voices. So I don't entirely have a clear idea of, especially, Buttercup, I think.
Buttercup, I don't hear Buttercup, but I'll agree with some of the people here in the chat. Kristen Lee does sound like, yeah, she's pretty close in range already.
I would agree.
Bubbles.
So I think if you have to recast, I don't think this is a horrible recasting. I'm gonna need to hear them in their roles to really solidify it. But the original voice actresses are kind of pained, and I think a lot of fans are too. Tara Strong, in particular, who was Bubbles. She tweeted in response to the news, "I don't remember ordering a stab in the heart today."
That's very direct.
That's very ow. And then the other ladies.
E.G. Daily, owie, right in the kisser, hurts. And then
crying emoticon, and
Catherine Cavaldini, "I wish the new girls well, but wow, does this hurt my heart." Which tells you, of course, they found out the same time everybody else did.
Yeah, so nobody told them, "Sorry, ladies, you will not be reprising these roles." But this sort of begs the question, should they have expected it to come back to them? Honestly, there's been a number of cartoons that have been rebooted. Let's take, Thundercats, for example. They didn't bring back the original voice actors for Thundercats.
Well, they did bring back Lion-O, but as this Lion-O's father.
Yeah.
But that's kind of a
But see,
a playover.
30 years, just about, at least 25, had passed between the original Thundercats airing and the airing of the newer Thundercats. So, He-Man had a couple of cartoon iterations, and they didn't bring back those voice actors.
No, they didn't. And the thing about it is, people are kind of taking sides here. Hey, you know what? The new girls are gonna do just fine. Let them do what they're gonna do. They were hired for a reason. Let's hear them out. Versus, more legacy people. No, you should have never recasted them. Those voices are those voices, and we want it to stay that way. Mm-hmm. And the thing about it is, I see both sides of the argument. Because, yeah, on the one hand, you grow up with certain voices, you want them to stay that way. Mm-hmm. we naturally don't want things to change as much as
because
possible.
human beings are completely adverse to change. It makes us uncomfortable, and we don't like it. That's the way human beings are, unfortunately.
Whereas by that same token, you want to be able to give somebody else a chance. I think in certain cases where it's a little more official, and I'll use the example of the Joker. Mark Hamill says, "You know what? I'm good now. I don't need to do the Joker anymore." So now who do we got? Troy Baker's our go-to, basically doing the exact same voice, and he's doing it again for
You've been complaining about that.
Well, see, I'm getting to that. He's going to be doing it again for this Batman Unleashed movie coming out this fall.
Right.
And the thing about it is, he's basically imitating Hamill's voice in the role. And some people are like, well, why couldn't he come up with his own Joker? Or, no, let him, he's doing a great Joker. We want the Joker to sound the same whether or not it's the same guy. And again, there's both sides of the argument there, where you can see where someone would come from with that. So with this, I imagine these girls, the new cast, were probably cast because they sounded pretty close to those three voice actresses.
I would imagine so, yeah.
And the thing about it is, while, there was more of an official split with, Hamill's not going to do the role anymore, so Troy Baker can do it, here it was less official, and it was kind of sprung on them. Which is why I would understand being miffed about it. Yeah. Because if there was no direct yes or no that you were going to get the role back, then yeah, I'd be a little upset about it. It'd be like I wonder, being up for a job, and then you see the job offered to somebody else. It's like, well, we weren't done talking.
Yeah, you often ask, so am I going to get an answer back whether I get the job or not? But, well, my question is did they just assume they were going to have the parts, or did they also have to, reapply to take those roles again? Is that something they did, or did they just assume, oh, well, I get to be Buttercup again? How did that go? I can't say. Nobody's probably ever going to tell either. But that would probably determine a lot of it. If it was, in fact, that they go, oh, well, great, well, I'm clearly a shoo-in for my old role, here's my paperwork, I hope that you respond to me soon, and then they don't, and instead they publicly announce who it is, and they never got back to you saying, sorry, we went in another direction, then yes, I get it, that is in fact painful.
Now the thing about it is, what makes it a little more painful is the idea that it's not the entire cast being replaced, because Tom Kenny, who's the role of the narrator and the mayor, is still coming back to reprise that role. So that's a little like, it's that one little thing, if you cleaned house and recast everybody, then we'd be like, okay, we have to accept it's a new direction, whatever. But then when you get that one little hook like, well, I still got my job back, then it hurts a little more. Yeah. Because it's like, well, why him, not me? Or not us, I should say, because, there's three voice actresses that are upset by this. Now, the thing about it that happens in certain cartoons, like in Thundercats, or even, going back to the other example, different Batman cartoons, they'll take older, or I guess I should say legacy actors, and then they'll put them in a different role. I can't tell you how many times, other than the animated series, that Kevin Conroy's come back playing, Bruce Wayne's dad or Dick Grayson's dad. He just ends up being a voice there. That's just their way of saying, hey, we respect you were part of this. We already got somebody for the role you were playing, but we want you to come back because we respect who you were. Right. So I would think before all this, there might have been a possibility of, hey, we know we gave these roles to these three other girls, but would you guys like to come back and be villains this time? Something like that would be cool, but this seems a little bit more like the door's not that wide open, if at all. Yeah, it doesn't feel you just kind of get that vibe from it. Yeah, and to be officially from Cartoon Network, this is from people they worked with before in the past. Yes. So it's not like it went to a new studio. It's like you would think, oh, we have a history together. We're good. I worked here. That's my parking spot. I came in expecting my parking spot to be open, and then there's somebody else there, and that's not my name there. That's somebody else's name. What the hell, man? That is very, very sad. So, yes. I think I do need to hear each of these new girls in their new roles in order to see just how hurt we need to be, I think. We have to gauge the amount of butt hurt necessary. Yeah, I think so, which we will get that opportunity
opportunity in 2016.
I will at least say
Yeah.
it's completely understandable why the original actresses would be upset.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Like, we're not even going to argue that. But yeah, next year we'll go ahead and see that. We'll probably get some clips before then, but actually I do wish the new girls well, and
absolutely.
by that same
I hope
token,
they're not getting too much flack, honestly.
I hope not.
I really hope they're not. It's too early for that.
Yeah,
Nothing
they
has
just-
even happened yet.
like, you want to be able to grow into your role, so, you know, give them a chance. It's not their fault.
It's not their fault, and you know what? It's not. And I think the older voice actresses also agree. It's not these new voice actresses' fault. It's really comes down to how Cartoon Network has handled the situation. So
Yes.
good job, Cartoon Network, as usual.
All right.
All right.
So, moving on to our last story, which is kind of a pre-E3 sort of thing here. You know, going into more full coverage, I should say.
So you're looking at what is going to be the version of the Oculus Rift, which will be available for sale next year. Yes, 2016. Yes. Yeah, Q1 2016. So there was a press conference, an announcement live in San Francisco. I believe that was today, in fact.
Yes.
Very, very cool that we're right on top of this. So the Oculus Rift, it kind of looks like a hunk of black plastic, but it does a lot more
With a
than
head
that.
strap.
With a head strap. But it does a lot more than that, of course. I'm sure a lot of people understand this is a virtual reality thingamagoober. So it's gonna take up your full peripheral vision, top to bottom, left to right. I'm not sure how much 3D functionality it has, to be honest. But they've unveiled all kinds of specs. I mean, not detailed specs, nor have they unveiled how much this is going to cost, but there is other information about it.
There's rumors, at least, of how much it's going to cost, and it's going to be a little pricey.
Yeah, I imagine so. I don't know that I'll be ready for a purchase at launch or anything. For example, though, the headset still is not wireless, so you still need to plug it in, unfortunately. That's very, very sad. And you need to plug that into, apparently, you need to plug it into a gaming PC.
Uh-huh.
And so that's kind of, it doesn't function on its own technology. That's
Well, see, I'm thinking about that in terms of functionality, and that actually makes sense. Because when you stop and think about
it's just the headset.
Well, yeah, because you think about whatever mechanics you're using to make these images appear before you. Say if you were to do it wirelessly, at least at the outset, I would imagine, you need battery power, right? You'd have to charge it to make sure that there was a wireless battery in there. But for as much as you're having to charge it, the thing you're going to have to worry about is a battery that could potentially overheat that close to your head. Like, that's just a nightmare waiting to happen. So, yeah, it makes more sense to keep the power plugged in somewhere.
So, also, it would appear that it's not just one screen, but at least two screens, one for each eye, and those screens are adjustable. So, you know, you can match it to whatever eye sensitivity you got going on here, and it's supposed to fit and feel just like a comfortable pair of glasses, and it shouldn't hurt. That's what they're saying.
See, for somebody who wears glasses, basically to see anything, that's important to me. That they want it to feel as comfortable as possible, because, like, just regular sunglasses for me are a problem. You know, so when it comes to, you know, gaming and stuff like that, yeah, sometimes I gotta, you know, take these off, you know, rub them out, and then, you know, try and get my vision to not be blurry. Whereas here, they're keeping that in mind. They want to make sure, no, we want to make sure you have the most comfortable experience possible, because if this isn't comfortable for you to wear, you're not going to keep wearing it.
Yeah. And, you know, games, you don't want to, typically, unless you're doing mobile gaming, for example, where you're just playing for brief stints. I imagine Oculus Rift isn't something you're only going to be playing for brief stints.
No, I imagine you're there for the long haul. You're doing a 2-3 hour session of something.
Right, I don't think it's for casual gamers in the slightest. It's too expensive to be for casual gamers.
Well, rumored to be too expensive. To be fair,
I promise you it's going to be too
expensive.
expensive.
No, it's going to be expensive. Like, let's not kid ourselves.
So,
because you get, what, you get the headset?
And every headset gets bundled with an Xbox One controller. So...
Well, that bumps up the price right there.
And if that tells you anything, which it further goes on to, in fact, officially tell you, yes, it has compatibility with the Xbox One. And in fact, certain games will be able to be streamed from your Xbox One to the Oculus Rift headset. I mean, that's not going to mean too much. It's not going to be your full... You're not going to get full peripheral vision or anything. However, it will be like you're looking at a really big screen TV. Because, yeah, it's taking up
your whole field of vision.
Your whole range. I mean, it's not going around the sides of your head. You're not going to be able to turn and look at things. But yeah, otherwise, so long as you're looking forward, you've got the biggest TV you can possibly imagine without needing to buy a friggin' big screen TV. That's pretty impressive, I think. It's not amazing, but it is impressive.
Or at least for, I guess you'd call it backwards compatibility?
I don't know if
because certain games are being developed for it.
Yes, but I wouldn't call that backwards, because backwards would insinuate that it's the next console from the same developer, but it's not from the same developer. There's its own motion-sensitive controller called the Oculus Touch.
That they're working on.
It kind of looks like it's a little watch wristband, kind of, but the
kind of looks like a Wiimote to me.
But the way it's being held isn't like the dude's wearing it on his wrist, though I'm wondering if maybe he could. It does kind of look like the Wiimote nunchuck.
Yeah,
where it has, it does have an analog stick, it does have a trigger button.
It seems to also have buttons down here, like, here, just using the Nerf gun as an example, because this is kind of where he's holding it. There's the stick up here, then you've got a trigger, and then it looks like he's got some buttons right here where your other fingers would be, which, of course, aren't there on the nunchuck, because you've just got, you know, your stick and then maybe a button.
Right.
But here it's more apparent that they're using more there on this little controller. I would assume it's for more racing games or more things of that nature.
Possibly, but they're showing all of these different ways that you can use it, either using the traditional input from the Xbox One controller, or use it like a Wiimote nunchuck. You can start to use communicative gestures. So, like, I imagine...
Motion control.
Yeah, so I imagine either you're holding it or perhaps you're wearing it, because that, to me, looked like a wristband, and you're, like, pointing. It says it somehow sense hand presence, so I don't entirely understand how that will function, but there's several different ways that this can be used, apparently. All of these, again, are going to be available in the first quarter of 2016, so they went on to further talk about some different games coming out at launch. For example, this Edge of Nowhere game. Apparently, you're, like, in the middle of nowhere, clearly, but it's icy and snowy and really super dangerous, so you're having to battle the elements, and there's not much information about it.
Really, it just looks to me like, you remember the first Star Trek reboot movie where they strand Kirk on that planet and he's running from that monster? It's basically that in game form.
I see what you're saying, yeah. So most of these games, there's only a brief trailer about them and not a whole heck of a lot of information. There's a dungeon crawler called Chronos. From what I understand, Chronos, of course, takes place over a long period of time as you're playing as this one character. So you start as a young boy, and you fight in a certain way, and you go through a dungeon in a certain way. You reach kind of adulthood or mid-adulthood, then your fighting style kind of changes as you've grown up and you've learned more about fighting and about dungeon crawling, and as an old man, you're gonna have a completely different approach to it with new limitations, but you gotta be smarter and do things differently, which sounds very intriguing, but there's only a little bit of information on it. New trailer for Eve Valkyrie. There's not much other video on it yet.
Space War, that's just what it looks like to me.
A first-person hockey game. I don't necessarily like having to look through a mask. Granted, that's exactly what you would be doing
if you were playing as the goalie.
Yeah. But, no, I'm not interested. Sports.
You don't
whatever.
sports.
I don't sports. Furthermore, they have also confirmed many different companies who are releasing games at launch for the Oculus Rift.
Such as
Harmonix, I know, High Voltage, Square Enix, also Oh, there was another one that I knew that was on a different list. I'm gonna have to look up a different list here in a little bit. But otherwise, most of them are fairly unfamiliar, relatively new game developers developing purely for the Oculus Rift. And I'll need to see more of their stuff before I'm like, yay, I'm excited for this, because right now I'm not super excited for it.
Well, see, here's the thing I'm trying to figure out. You bring up harmonics, and they do...
They do rhythm games.
Rhythm games.
So like Dance Central.
So I'm trying to figure out, like, how is that gonna work with a headset? A Dance Central game with a headset. Like, I'm trying to imagine that, and I'm having a real hard time doing it.
I imagine it can't possibly be Dance Central, for example. Head bobbing, maybe? I don't know. Left, right, left. I have no idea.
Night at the Roxbury, the home game.
I guess. Also, looking at some video footage of what appeared to be people playing some of these titles. There was a trailer of just a whole bunch of the different games spliced back to back, kind of.
Right.
And I'm wondering if it's going to make me sick. Because
well, yeah, you do have a problem with that.
I have a little bit of fake motion problem when it's like, when I do 3D rides, a lot of 3D rides that combine motion, real motion, with fake 3D effects have a tendency to give me a migraine and make me want to throw up. Granted, they fixed, you remember when we went to Universal Studios, they fixed the Spider-Man ride, and it was less nausea-inducing for me than it was back in the day when they first opened it up.
Right.
So I'm hoping that even Oculus Rift has gone further past that and developed it so I'm not going to get sick. Well, but I'm watching these people play, right? What I'm imagining is someone's gameplay footage, and you can see this slight head bobble in the motion of the game, and I'm like, oh, see, in real life, your brain doesn't see head wobbling and bobbling, because
not too much, no.
Not especially. Your brain, like, as I'm doing this, my brain interprets still up from down and left from right. My brain still
basically
knows
your
that.
own steady cam.
Yeah, the brain is an amazing thing. But fake things, the brain doesn't do so well with. It doesn't, I don't know if my brain is going to try and automatically steady it for me as much. Or if my brain will be able to tell the difference, and that kind of thing can make me sick.
Well, I'm imagining that
is that a word? Funny enough, no, the same does not go for me in roller coasters. I do not get sick on roller coasters, but I get sick on fake motion rides.
Well, you do get sick on high motion rides, not a roller coaster, but like something that'll whip you around.
I get sick on spinning.
Yeah.
Which I did not used to, which infuriates me because I love spinning rides, and now I get sick on them.
Yeah, well, now you got to take a Dramamine before you get on.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, I imagine this is a problem they addressed during development. Like, we wouldn't be this close to launch, and they didn't take that into consideration. Mm-hmm. You know, you think about people complaining about, you know, the high refresh in The Hobbit, you know, like, oh, this is giving me a headache, I can't watch this. Like, no, that's stuff they would want to take into consideration, because, no, you don't want to put out any sort of project or promote something that could potentially make somebody sick. Because, again, it goes back to the same thing with the glasses. You want to put out the most likely product that will not have any problems whatsoever with comfort, because comfort is number one when it comes to anything. When it comes to the food you eat, the movies you watch, the stuff you buy, comfort is number one.
Yes.
So they want you to be comfortable not just with how it feels on your face, but how you interpret it with your eyes. Mm-hmm. So I totally believe that they've taken those kind of things into account. That way there's not so much waggle, because I think back, oh geez, like 20 some odd years ago, like, you remember, and some of you might know what I'm talking about, if you went to the mall or sometimes a theme park, they would have 3D games there, and it was this little booth that you'd stand in, and they put this giant friggin' like Virtual Boy thing on your head, and like
one little one-button controller for a gun.
Yeah, and then you'd be kind of looking around, and
that
basically
was at Six Flags. I never saw that.
There was one at the mall too.
I never saw one at the mall.
And it basically, the world looked like Virtua Fighter.
Yeah.
You know, it was very pixely, very blocky. And I remember that as a kid was, one, intriguing, like, oh, this is just like in the movies, because, yeah, technology hadn't gone that far. But yeah, it was a little sickening, because the motion control wasn't there yet. You know, there was a bit of lag. Like, I'd look over here, and then a few seconds later, the screen would catch up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I imagine that's one of the first things they addressed, because those things were expensive back in the day. You had to pay, $10 for 3 minutes in that little
Man, that's
booth.
like a phone chat line.
I know! And you get screwed over just the same, you know? So now I'm imagining, you know, we take our Oculus Rift, our new peripheral, just the way we take our phone chat lines. We want it faster, we want it better, and we don't want to waste our money on it.
Sure, Josh.
Sure.
Sure.
I imagine it's the same basic rules of comfort. Comfort, Kaylin. Yeah, I want to be as comfortable with the Oculus Rift as I do with a phone line.
Okay, sure. Well, I think that's about all.
Yeah, that's a good time to cut it off. I think.
So, again, because I am going to be putting this up on Channel Awesome here in a few more days. If this is your first time seeing this program, good for you. You should be down here with us on Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Central at twitch.tv/MarsGirl, because here, right after the show, we're going to be going into a Q&A session purely for the people who are here with us live. I do not share the Q&A session with people on YouTube or any other place. Yeah, you guys should really be coming down here live with us. It's fun. There's all these other people over here. They're having a good time. God, please tell me you're having a good time.
Please,
oh God, I hope you're having a good time. So thank you guys very, very much for watching. I'm glad to see you guys back here for our 5th season. It's not going to be all that long before we hit 100 episodes. We've been doing this for a couple years now.
Yeah, at this point.
It's pretty good, pretty fun. I'm glad to be back. What else do we need before we close out?
Of course, we will be back next week at the same time, same channel, like she said. But during the week, if you guys want to talk to us, or if you have some story ideas, you can always hit us up over on Twitter. I'm at Josh Knight First.
And I'm at Mars Girl.
So that having been said, that's been the season opener for Beyond the Black Rims. We will see you guys next week.
Good night.